to me, after watching the film's kind of about love and relationships kind of being an unstoppable, uncontrollable force of nature almost.
That'd be a good way of saying it.
Would you agree? Okay, was that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. Love isn't unstoppable. It is unstoppable, and it's often out of our control. All these characters are compelled to love someone, often someone they hate, and but they have to keep going, and they're doing that for very selfish reasons often, as we do in love. It's really about wanting to be loved, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be seen as who we truly are, and with all our flaws, and have someone say that's okay. I'll love you for that anyways.
Yeah, and your character is very flawed.
All the characters are very flawed.
All of them.
Yes.
And that's important. Why is that important?
That's the kind of characters I love the most, the ones who are crippled in some way, and emotionally. And those are the ones who I empathize with. So, love writing them.
And you said that, right, you wrote this film because you had questions.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions. Questions about the nature of love, questions about relationships, things I couldn't answer, many of them. Also questions about the creative process, because at the center of the film, that's what it's about. What we kill to create, what we sacrifice. We're very selfish as writers, as creators. We're incredibly selfish. All artists are, painters, photographers, whatever we are, we're selfish. And often, almost always, someone else pays the price for that selfishness. It's not us. Because if we work 12 hours a day at something we love, well, there are other people who are being ignored in our life. There are other people who are supporting us, and they're not getting their needs filled. Sometimes it's children. When you're young, like I was, and had kids right away when I was 22, often they're the ones that pay the price.
And that's the third person. Were there always three stories? Did you always have
Yes.
three stories?
I always wanted to do a triptych. I didn't, and I came to the three stories fairly early. The characters changed radically over the 2.5 years I wrote this, because I decided not to. I'm a structuralist. I know how to structure a story, and I decided purposely not to do that in this one. I wanted to write from the inside out and let the characters take me places that they want to go. And that's a very dangerous way of writing, especially if you're trying to get a script done in 6 months. But it also became a centerpiece for the movie, that the characters literally lead, Liam's character to things he doesn't want to see, and things he doesn't want to face. And that's what we, I think, as writers, or as creators, we try to be vulnerable enough to write something. We don't want to get really vulnerable. We don't want to really reveal ourselves, and then things keep gnawing at us. Things haunt us, and we don't know where those voices are coming from, and yet they are pulling us someplace. And so that was my journey, which came up very much in the film.
Yeah, there's I think for me it reveals a very dark personal perspective from your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, love is often that. It is incredibly joyous, and you see the joy in these characters and the love and that. But there are dark places it takes us to, and there are terrible choices we make, and so these characters often make terrible choices. They're often deeply conflicted. We often push away the one we want to come to us. We hurt the one we love. We know this all the time. And we betray them in ways that aren't always the way people think they're going to be betrayed.
Yeah, you're putting yourself out there, and you're saying, though, the impetus for this is that you don't have the answers.
Yes.
You don't have the answer to this. You have questions. So there's so much of you out there. Are you comfortable in that theater?
Yeah. No, I like revealing myself. Everything in this movie is true. It's just none of it happened. So, but I was able to play with all my feelings, all things, lines of dialogue that were said to me that I said to others are in this film, but in settings and situations and characters that someone who I was with wouldn't necessarily recognize. So, because that's what you do. It's what you did in Crash. It's what I did here. So a lot of the people who were represented in Crash would never recognize themselves.
And you make sure make sure.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I make no attempt to conceal them at all. They just don't recognize themselves.
So it was this long process.
Some will recognize themselves.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So there was 2 years, you said.
2.5 years of
2.5 years.
writing it. Yeah.
Was that a beautiful experience? Was it frustrating?
Beautiful, painful, incredibly frustrating because I kept getting it wrong and throwing it out, and and reliving relationships I'd had, and reliving the joy of those moments with people I was no longer with, and the pain I'd caused others that I could do nothing about, but had to keep forcing myself to look at it over and over and over again. It's a masochistic endeavor. This one in particular, but writing in general, and then finding the form of this. I think we were mentioned earlier. I was really influenced by the filmmakers of the 60s and 70s. When I finally got to see some of those films, I ran a film society up in London, Ontario, Canada when I was like 19 years old. And because I was a high school student, I didn't go to film school. I went to Fanshawe College, like the local community college for a year. I went to the local art school for a year and decided to become a photographer. But I decided to become a photographer largely because of Blow Up. I saw this movie. I'd screened it in a 60mm print at the Film Society. I didn't know what these films were. I was getting movies by Buñuel and Antonioni and Truffaut, Godard, Bergman, all these, and I'd never seen these before. And I looked at these films and went, you can tell a story that way? I mean, Blow Up, besides the fact that it made me want to be a fashion photographer, because I go meet Vanessa Redgrave, besides that, here's a murder mystery. What pretends to be a murder mystery? What you believe is a murder mystery. And this is a guy who's trying to solve this. And along the way, we come to find out there is no solution. He'll never get to the answer of this. Not only that, the film ends in a tennis game between mimes. And that's the solution to the movie. And you leave the theater going, what the hell was that about? And you think, and it finally hits you. And the themes come through, and the things of materialism, the things, all this it sort of seeps out. And so I wanted to make a movie that isn't made as often today. The kind of film that you are emotionally satisfied at the end of the film, but you don't necessarily know why. And you have to walk out, outside of the theater, and hopefully you came with 2 or 3 friends so that you can argue about what was this and why was that and what the hell was with the flowers and how could somebody be in 2 different places? All these things, and I purposely set it in 3 different cities, where these characters in 3 different countries, where these characters could never meet. It's impossible for them to meet. Unlike Crash, where one character bumps into the next and you follow that character and it's around, I had a different construct in this, and there's a reason for that.